by Richard. This is a different book by Richard Wagamese, the Indigenous writer. That and there was something that he wrote here that I felt really sets a beautiful tone and wanted to share it. In the Indigenous way of seeing, the land, all things that move upon it, is alive and therefore sacred. Humankind's relationship to the earth and its life forms has always been that of an equal. The honor of one is the honor of all. If you cared enough to consider the guardianship of yourself and your family, it followed that you cared enough to consider the guardianship of the earth. What it takes is a walk upon the land, learning to see these things that exist here and something other than your eyes, leaving the material trappings behind for a while and allowing yourself to become part of the sweep and grandeur of the planet, allowing your heartbeat. When you do that, you learn to see the mountains, begin to breathe in the falling darkness. You learn to accept the responsibility that comes with being a part of creation, and you begin to understand, as the old ones understand, that the honor of one thing is the honor of all. I've always really enjoyed bringing Richard or others that are sharing their writing that helps connect us in. So welcome everyone. And now we'd really like to bring each of you into the space and thought that we would continue with the what Taya calls the weather report. And Brandon's just going to put into the chat basically just giving one word to describe your current state of being, and then choosing a number between 1 to 10, with 1 being the lower end of what your energy is, and 10 being that you're just rearing to go and excited. So somewhere between 1 and 10, and then one sentence about either your weather report or what's top of mind for you coming into today's classroom. And what we'd really like to ask is that you put your virtual hand up in Zoom, just so that, and ask someone to start, and then pass it on to the next person. And then when you've gone, you can take your hand down, and that way we know who's still left to go. Is there anyone that would like to start? Okay, I can start. Oh, Corey, you put your hand up. Or maybe I'm just not seeing everyone's hands.
Put my hand up because I'm supposed to.
You did. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to take the confusion out of that, and I will start and pass it on. I am actually pretty excited. We've had some really great conversations. So excited. 8, and excited for what is arising in these conversations between the landscapes. And I will pass to you, Corey.
Good morning, everyone. Let's see, energy level, I'd say is an 8. Weather report, I don't know, kind of like part of me feels like the eye of a hurricane or tornado, and another part of me feels turbulent, with excitement and anxiety. So much I want to do. Taking time is hard for me. I think that's part of it. So check. I will pass off to goodness teammates.
Hi, this is Shaylee. I'm with the Mount Olympus Olympic Peninsula group, and I put purpose for my word 7 because there's just so much happening right now. and kind of a pulse of the weather, and what my life feels like is fresh and potent with transition.
And who would
Yeah.
you like to pass to?
I'll pass to, how about Christian Quiver? Are you here?
I think I'm about a 7, I would say, and I'm feeling content. Let's pass to Brandon.
Well, I'll say I'm rocking a solid 4 to 5, which might sound low, but as many of you know, it's kind of a bump up from where I have been. So, and I will say my one sentence is I'm feeling awake, for better or for worse. I haven't decided yet. And with that, I'll pass over to Brian.
Yeah, I'm probably a 7 or 8 this morning. The sun is shining and it's supposed to be deluge rain, and so I'm jumping on stuff outdoors. So yeah, I'm in a good flow. Got my studio going. Kind of looking forward to kids coming, and feeling good to be here. And I'll pass to Shapit, who's not there yet, but you can go.
Okay. Weather report. Mostly sunny and bright, and um, yeah, a bit of excitement about just tiny winds. Genevieve.
Uh, I feel warmth and like a 10 of good energy today. And let's see. There's a lot of flow with the group.
Yeah.
And who would you like to?
Can I go next?
Oh yeah, sure, Cindy.
Yeah. I'm feeling all of that. We've got a little sunshine here in the Skagit Valley, and things are moving really quickly. Super transition. I'm at a 9, which is pretty amazing for me. I haven't been there in I don't know how long, and yeah, things just little wins, lots and lots of little wins, and transition into a positive, loving space.
Wonderful. Who are you going to pass to? That's great.
Let's see. Has Asha gone?
Thank you, Cindy. I'm glad to hear we're all bringing our energy back up. I feel energized by my group meeting for the first time in person on Shaylee's land, so that was really special. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here, that we could all be here again in the morning. I'll pass it to my teammate, April.
Hey, thanks, Sasha. Go ahead, lower my hand. I've got good energy today. I'm like a 9 and feeling really good. Weather forecast. A little windy, sunny, with a chill in the air. And I'll pass to David from Whatcom.
Thank you. It's weird, I'm not seeing myself on the screen. Am I visible?
Yes.
I guess I'm around a 4 this morning with some splashes of 7s in there as well. And I expect the number to bump up after I've had my Inspiration Farm eggs a little bit later. And weather report, yeah, wow, the sun is actually shining through the window. So that's pretty nice. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I think everyone's gone. We've got everyone, right? Yeah. It's really great to just have everyone bring themselves into the room. I think that's kind of emblematic or thematic of what we're also wanting to do. And I think I'm going to hand over to Brandon for the first of our what we're calling a bridging exercise right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Claire. I think to start today, I mean, I think more than us talking at you, we would like to really shift our focus and really open up more of a broader dialogue. And we want to really start to get into the nuts and bolts of what we're going to be doing for the next month, 2 months, and really start to co-create with all of you what you feel you need to tell and what we feel we need to tell as part of our story decks. And we're keeping that fairly open at this point. But so just to set the context for the flow of today, we thought that we would start with a little bit of a bridging conversation that can just be at a higher level that universally, if we're creating shared templates where you can really dive into your landscape, what are the things that we want to start from the top level, kind of as an introduction that we should all share about? Maybe it's bioregionalism, maybe it's Cascadia, maybe it's about like how we talk about regenerate Cascadia. But it's really more of that introductory level thing. And then we were going to pivot and have a little bit of time to talk about who our audiences might be for these decks, specifically in the next month, phase one. Who do we want to communicate really with the idea of this landscape showcase that we'll be doing in February? Who are we inviting? How are we tailoring those invitations? And then, but lastly, then the real meat of what we want to do today will be how we actually co-create. We'll go into breakout rooms, and we'd like you to actually spend time with your group just to talk about at a very high level, what are the things that are important to include, and we'll have a whiteboard up. And so that'll be a shared whiteboard activity. We'll be in breakout rooms, but we'll actually all be typing in on the same whiteboard. And you can go very specific and say, oh, in Whatcom, we need to name this, or you can be very high level and just say, and really with the idea and the flow that what we'll be doing is we want to get as much data and information about what you would like to see in it. And then over the next week, we, and specifically Taya, is going to take that and kind of put it all together to actually start creating templates. And it can be written templates, it can be slide templates, they could be shared scripts. We're keeping it very open right now, very intentionally. And Claire, yeah.
Yeah, I just maybe just sort of taking a higher level view of what like the intention is that we want you to have really effective communication for the people you most need to communicate with. So so that is the purpose of this. And so what is it that will help bring the people that that thinking specifically about the bioregional mapping workshop at this point, you were starting to identify groups that you would be thinking about inviting in as your minimum viable process. Not all the groups, but the ones that are the most leaned in, the ones that that kind of need to be the allies in the field that are helping you hold the vision of this. And how do you get them excited about what you're inviting them into? And so, yeah, the story deck is a way of just getting clarity on who it needs to be pitched to, what are the gaps that need to be filled in, and how do you communicate effectively? And the thing is that the story deck then can be remodeled to who you're talking to. But let's talking about like your primary audience, which is the people you're inviting in, is a good starting place. And yeah.
That'll be our second conversation, Claire.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we just had a higher level understanding of what we were doing. So the breakdown.
Yeah. So maybe to start though, we just really wanted to have just start with a very high level conversation. And so we'll just go popcorn style. Feel free to jump in. But just at this higher level, when we're talking about these story decks, what are the introductory elements that you think that are important for us to talk about? And we just want to give space, and so feel free to just kind of jump in.
The first thing I'm thinking of is like, what the heck is regenerate? Like, what do we actually mean when we say regenerate? Because, that can mean a million different things. And what do we mean by it?
I
Yeah,
would
I'll
say
riff off that. I've been thinking about that a lot because it touches different people different ways. So, maybe some kind of mapping of regenerate directions that people can find traction in. Regenerate culture, regenerate farming, regenerate our food system, regenerate our economy, regenerate our landscapes, regenerate our wilderness areas. It's so many different ways to approach that. And then I would add also the just kind of our foundation of like where we have come from before we came to regenerate uh, work, to because so many of us have come from deeper backgrounds, long history of involvement, and to really paint that picture, that we're not new to this. And I have more to add, but I'll let others chime in first.
I was thinking that it seems like it'd be important to articulate how it's different and how it's different from just another thing. And then given that there's so much work on the ground happening everywhere, how it's not intended to be competition, but intended to help a lot, however we would say it, but align and support and accelerate the work that they are already doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And do you think your groups know what bioregionalism is, or thinking about the land as a whole system?
Yeah, I would say in that a unique thing about this project is not only is it wanting to recognize what's happening um, and encourage existing projects by finding where the pain points are for stalling things that are working. But from that, it's creating a story and a model that can be shared across the region. We're not working against each other. We're resourcing from each other to problem solve and creating a shared narrative so that not only our region, but like other regions can learn what is successful and how each of our little outposts has problem solved through those things. It's kind of like our collective wisdom is being modeled through our storyboards, and we're trying to get through the roadblocks with the funding and through this practice of sharing where we're at.
Yeah. Lovely.
I'm just wondering when we start to think about adding in aspects of regenerating culture and regenerating economic structures and some of these other aspects, because it's real easy to get painted as, environmental organization, sustainability, nature, and be kind of put into that box. And at what point do we widen that boundary of what we need to pay attention to?
Yeah. Great question too. Yeah, we wanted to just see what was surfacing that will be important questions to be just bringing up in this conversation or in the storytelling.
Yeah, I think this is good. Any last thoughts on kind of this higher level? And we'll obviously come back, but this has been an awesome start to this conversation. Um, yeah, Corey.
I don't know what exactly, but place-based, land-based, listening to the land is kind of one of our foundations. Seems like that should be in there.
Right.
Yeah,
Christopher.
and going off of what you just said, Corey, is it's actually reminding me of When I lived in Seattle, I spent a lot of time in indigenous only spaces, and there's like an ongoing joke of like, oh, if if you know one tribe, then you know one tribe. And that's really a joke around how different all of the peoples are, and the peoples generally have that connection with the land or of the place. And so I think there needs to be some sort of explanation around, yes, we are one big bioregion, but each landscape or each place is actually going to have different needs or different specialties or different things that it can offer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you guys feel how is can we just ask how is communicating about Regenerate Cascadia and your actual landscape group to outside audiences? What would have been the struggle points there? And is that something that we should kind of touch on?
I think coming up with an answer to some of the questions that people have already talked about, like what does regenerate mean, and then immediately you maybe start talking about regenerating, through environmental, at least I do, environmental type things, and through organic agriculture and those kinds of things. But then it's hard to put it in a capsule and answer the question strongly and well with people, and because we're struggling with it too. It is a big thing and a big goal, and people kind of look at us and sometimes and roll their eyes and go, well, yeah, whatever. It's like, how are you going to get there? And that, anyway, I do struggle with all of this, and I think it's really good that we're moving on to some concrete projects and connecting things, because only the people who are really, like you say, really aligned with us are even asking to hear more and know more and join up, and some of them are, but the the high level stuff tends to go away for people, but it's the practical things, and then they're like, well, so and so is already doing that, and such is already doing that, and you're how are you guys different? And I usually say something like, well, we're the threads that connect all of these things together to elevate it to a better place, and we're not based in a governmental or supported by the typical means sort of thing. We're volunteering to connect all of the people who are struggling, the little farms and everything, to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So something like that, but that's about as far as I get.
Yeah, I
What
find
about?
it tricky talking to people about it because it is so big and all encompassing, and yet they want specifics. They want to see
Mhm.
like where does how and the specifics are really important for engagement of community members because they want to be able to like, okay, what can I plug into? What can I get involved with? And so I feel it's kind of like um, you have to expand and then you have to contract, and you have to expand and you have to contract. So it's kind of this yo-yo effect where you have to like keep expanding the consciousness, but then give the tangible kind of here's what we've done, here's what other people are doing, that kind of thing, examples, um, real life things, but then you have to expand again too, so people don't get pigeonholed into one thing or the next. Oh, it's just about restoring streams, or it's just about, regenerative agriculture. No, it's yes and all the above, and so much more that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but it's important to have those communications where you can get traction with community members. If you just stay on the abstract, then you lose people. They're just sort of like, well, whatever, they're not together. I don't know where my place is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't found it too hard. Is it okay for me to speak? Um,
Yep.
I've spoken to folks about it being a group trying to look at regenerative systems, which means things that inherently sustain themselves and improve the environment they're part of. So it's things like cultural repair, environmental and social justice, work, regenerative agriculture, food systems, and housing. And that what the Regenerate Cascadia is doing is it's rallying landscape groups who are in community with local initiatives. And the whole point is to identify them, raise awareness between them, and help practically support them, like with money and administrative support and things like that. And through this dialogue of working with each other and learning from each other. So far, it hasn't been confusing with the people I've spoken to out here, so that's been cool. I feel like there's some degree of excitement because it seems like this work isn't to like create another nonprofit just going after its thing. It's to help all the community groups and nonprofits have more awareness of what is going on and to learn from each other through this model-based storyboard output. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, everyone. We're going to move the conversation along, but we just wanted to kind of share that there are some common parts of how we tell the story that we figured that every one of the landscape groups are wanting to surface. So we wanted to surface that and then actually see what the other groups also surface, so that perhaps if we're thinking about the storytelling in modules, that some of the things that are common to everyone that we actually support on that, so that you can focus on your landscape groups. You can obviously do whatever is going to work for you in your landscape, but these are things just that are tools that are going to be for to support you. And then just to really also, I really love what you brought in, Brian. I think that there is these learning processes. It's just interesting when people don't get it. Like they come back, you've told them something, they've got it, and then the next time they share back and it's like that something else has kind of got into that, and it's like opportunity for clarity. And I feel like these story decks are another, it's our opportunity to share with the community, and there's a learning process and an iterating. So I think if we just understand that learning and iterating is, we'll do the best job we can, but we'll just keep getting better. And it's not just words, it's actions that are part of the communicating. So, yeah, so Brandon, I think we're ready to move into the next section. Yeah.
So I think maybe we can so now I think we'll just take a quick moment, and we just really wanted to talk and open this conversation now up to what audiences are we working to target with this story deck. And keep in mind that we're using the term story deck. We have not actually defined what that is. So maybe it's a presentation, maybe it's whatever. That's not true. Definitely, I guess we do have a landscape showcase, so that's there. There is a written component because we do want to include this. We want to create a professional storytelling device that helps share the narrative of your landscapes, also with Regenerate Cascadia. But I think we just want to take a moment. Who are the people that you think are important to invite in? And with the idea that we're going to do a landscape showcase in early February. And then phase two is really going to be about the bioregional mapping and the regeneration strategies and the flow funding sandboxes. And so this might be, maybe it's your team, maybe it's your community. I don't know. Where are people at, and who do you think is most important to really reach out and invite in as part of this process?
Maybe I could just say is that if you think about the bioregional mapping workshop as kind of like one of the goals of what we're going to be like concretely moving towards, there's obviously lots of groups in your landscape, but if you're thinking about who those people are, that might actually be helpful to sort of think about what is the kind of what is it that they're doing, and what is it that they would need to hear to, yeah.
No, I love this. It actually is how this is actually part of like product development. And to speak at it in a different language is just like who I know this is gonna sound weird, but like who's your target users in a way? Like who's your audience? Like who's gonna read this? And when I worked at Amazon, it's actually a very similar exercise of Amazon would have these workshops of where we'd all have to write papers. I don't know if anyone knows that, but it's a very paper written culture. But nobody would ever tell you how to write your paper. You had to think of who's your audience and how do you do that. And a lot of times, like I can speak for myself here, like as I've been kind of honing this and thinking about it, like who is the intended audience? A lot of times it feels like it's small businesses here in the Gorge. It's nonprofits that are already running. Like I want to be able to speak to them. And then I also want to be able to speak to folks who have right now like extra time and resource with the same value system. Because it feels like those are probably the folks who would be able to tie in and be interested in being able to support more at maybe like that 9% level, or potentially even from the 1% and then being a part of the 9% level.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. Yes, April.
Hey, so I've been thinking of including the housing authority because Asha's done a lot of work with that group, Local 2020, potentially the Jefferson Community Foundation, people locally that are already doing really good work and looking for groups that are doing really good work. They're highly likely to support us. And so let's get those people on board and get them talking about the work that we're doing so that they get excited and they can start bringing in people that would want to donate money. Yeah, that's my thought.
Thank you. Shapard or
Yeah, the one question that I haven't heard asked that I think is important as we're developing this is what is our request? What is our ask of these people that are in our audience as well? You know, why are we talking to them? What do we want from them as we're talking to them?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think that's sort of actually I was going to reflect a little bit for April, like just really wanting like if we're thinking about there are going to be many audiences and different ways that you're going to want to speak to. But if we're thinking about the bioregional mapping workshop, which you're going to need to be inviting these folks in, what is the messaging? What is the invitation going to look like that's going to feel compelling about what you're reflecting? And often it's reflecting what is the work that's going on in your landscape, and that is compelling about who you have relationships with already. So yeah, it just who are the people you'd be inviting in maybe as the primary people that you're thinking about. And you can always adapt it to the next group of who your audience is, but just thinking about one audience so that you're focused about what would you need to say. So I don't know if that's if you've got further questions on that, or should we go to Corey and then you follow up?
Well, I think April and then Corey.
Sure. I was thinking, what would I need to say to get these people to come along? And I think speaking directly to this support system that we're creating across the region, because that's really like the people that I just mentioned, that's what they're looking for. That's what they're trying to create. And so they too can feel supported in that. And that feels inclusive. Am I
Can I
starting
add
to
to
speak
that?
to what you're saying? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I'm in April's team, and I think being very clear about what we're talking about, it is creating a solution that can be applied across our landscape, and in essence, it's utilizing small farms with farm worker housing and building up some type of micro processing facility that befits the industry of whatever natural resource is abundant on the land to address family and workforce housing and seasonal work, and having some of that be for temporary housing for people. So there's a whole lot of like sustainable economic development and housing and zoning that all kind of comes together in our project. So just showing like my farm as a case study, which I would love to use some of the other places like Brian's farm or even Lost Valley as like different scales of this, and Asha's place. Like, what do we need to have residents with semi-flexible housing, a place to make money off of what the land has a lot of. That's kind of it. I mean, that's what you need: the processing space, the house, and the land. And there's so many places that just aren't being utilized. So we're kind of identifying what those are. And there's so many groups like the EDC and small farms, I think, are some of the big ones, because what other farms have a lot of that in place but just need a little bit of help, like a site person to identify the best place to build a house and what the county limits are of how to make it happen. And so just creating that model and then system of like, here's the questions to ask, here's what the rules are for your county, and then here's how big you can go to create as much housing as possible, and here's the minimum processing facility stuff you need.
Yeah. And Shaylee, I might just say one thing here, just in terms of the bioregional mapping workshop time is going to be a time of like deeply listening to what is there, what's on the land. So it's identifying what you're already seeing, but you're also being, and I know Brandon, we can spend more time talking about this later, but just really wanting to, the openness of what we're inviting people into is also going to be really important, because as groups come in, there's a participatory conversation that the people are going to be invited into. Yeah. Corey.
Yeah, so curious what my teammates think, but to me, it seems like we're at a stage of, what are we asking is really important. And I think, what I feel like I want to attract are strong partnerships from organizations or people who are who could be very strong allies, like resources. Recently came to our Waters Love event and they seem very interested. So I feel like, we're a group of 4, and this other layer, we need some moving into the mapping and the strategy. Who are the strong players in the community and on the land that would be wonderful to have with us, and so share our values and things like that. And to the extent we can, to identify other groups. I'm thinking specifically of tribes on the landscape that we would love to partner with. So is there some way to speak to that group and, attract them to us in some ways? So that's kind of what I feel like the ask, what we need the most, even more than money. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'll just say too, sorry. So Corey, and be thinking about, there are a lot of communities, like when you say that you need more than money, who actually need that money. Like in a lot of tribes and First Nations, they actually, like, if you can offer stipends or honorariums to help invite participation of communities who might not otherwise be able to do it, that's actually a very powerful thing. Sorry, so I'm just jumping in there, but
Yeah. Just a quick comment. I think one of the things that is different, maybe this goes in the introduction, is that we are trying to get organized to flow money in very intentionally, but strategically. And so I think that's part of the attraction. But I think the message of we're going to come together and figure that out in a strategic way, as opposed to like there'll just be a free, just money.
No.
People go crazy when money comes in the picture.
And even
I have a question about that stipend or honorarium to working with tribes to help honor some of the all sorts of stuff there. There's a large landscape next door that we have, and other ones in around the area that seem kind of like prime spots for uh, traditional food forest development. Is that something we could be like, here's an honorarium or a stipend to think about how this could tie into these processing facility spaces through education about traditional foods and foraging and a processing center so that we could work together to make more food available. It's not just the harvesting, it's the processing. Is that something that we could consider putting into our project?
Yeah, and I'm going to just say, I think this is a larger question. I'm glad you raised it, and I think it's something that we will bring into, we'll figure out a space for that. I just don't want to go too much into, let's just bookmark that question. Not, it's an
Okay.
important question, but I just want us to, because we're going to go into breakout rooms in just a minute, and I just want to give space for this. But thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
there's a lot of water under the bridge. I tried to take notes so I could catch up with a lot of this. I think what we have to offer and is that we're kind of like a club or a guild that is networking. So there's the flow funding thing that is a goal, but it's down the line. But it's a club or a guild of
Hmm.
like-minded people that people can join and become not isolated crazy regenerators off doing their own thing with no support mechanism. So we're stronger together, is kind of the thing. The other part is like who our audience is people that already have agency in the landscapes. And those are farmers that are approaching, and working with regenerative farming practices. Those are uh, land trusts, co-housing groups, developers. Developers might be a harder sell because they're so, caught into the whole monetary rape and pillage mentality.
Absolutely.
But there's definitely some that are more amenable to it. And then tribes have access to large tracts of land that they're stewarding and used to be stewarding much larger tracts of land. Um, and so those kind of people, and then I would go to private landowners that are wanting to do stuff. I do design consultations for people all the time that are how do I do this better? How do I work with water? How do I make habitat? All that kind of stuff. So providing case studies in each of those type fields get more traction and get more buy-in. But yeah, it's who our audience is and what do we have to offer are really poignant questions. And there's all kinds of tools in the toolbox to address each of those kind of niche uh, uh, audience members. But and then to show I think back to relationships, the relationships between land trusts and regenerative farming, between land trusts and indigenous communities, between land trusts and foodscapes, um, between land trusts and builders. All of these have the relationships to show where the relationships can be built stronger is also a role we can play.
Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you. And Christian.
Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot, and I believe the question was asked, like, what is the ask? What is the request? And it has me, and then Claire, you said some really good things about how people plug in, and it feels like we all need to be able to look at this as a like basically a multi-scalar level around like how are people entering and at what level. And so I think the important things to look at, which we're talking about now, is like who is your audience? Like who are you talking to? What's the what? Like what are you actually offering? Which in my mind, it's almost this invitation to be a part of this story. So how are we storytelling? And also, what problem are you solving? And so, there's a reason why people look at products the way they do. And I'm not saying we integrate all of what this system does, but there's probably some like helpful lessons there. And then the third thing would be just like, how does somebody plug in? And so that's how I'm thinking of this of like, okay, we know this is our audience. This is the offering for our specific landscape at this scale, not the whole bioregional scale. This is what we're offering, what problems we're looking at to solve. And then this is how you can become a part of the story. And so that's kind of that response to, what is the ask, what is our request? Is it's like I feel like we're trying to solve some of that what's the what here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Brandon, were you wanting to go to the next thing?
Yeah.
Or
And do you want to introduce it?
sure.
All right.
Yeah, so I've organized everyone into their landscape group breakout rooms. We're going to spend 20 minutes and then come back to distill. But you've got whiteboards, and actually I'm just Brandon, have you got that ready to go? Or shall I just I'll put a link to the whiteboard in the chat. If someone can go and copy and paste that, and then when you get into your room, you can paste it on. I think we've just known that nobody should claim the presenter mode. Like, don't click on that, otherwise you will grab the board to your room, apparently. So, but there are instructions. I'm actually going to just for time's sake, I'm just going to it's fairly self-explanatory in the rooms. Just find your board that's got your landscapes group's name. There are instructions. Actually, Brandon, do you want to just share your screen of the whiteboard? Would that be good? Then we can just look at it together. Yeah, so the green, do you want to just point at the green board, which has got just, that's where I would go for your, just prompts. And then
Yeah. I might just jump in that. So basically, we're going into breakout rooms, and from a very high level, we would love that this is the co-creation where we'd love to hear about what is really important and what's coming up for your group that you need to see included. You can be as detailed or as high level as you would like to be, and then our ideas that we'll go through and compile all this, and then Taya will actually create the templates that we hope to have ready by next week. We've created some example things that you might want to think about. These are examples, so don't get locked in. And we've already just talked about, I think, a wonderful breadth. And so we'll be in these rooms for about 20 minutes. Then we'll come back and we'll have a 5 to 10 minute share back. And Christian, why don't you go ahead and just hop into another room that you think is good, but then do keep working on, so basically you all have your own spaces, Skagit, Gorge, Whatcom, Mount Olympus. And
actually,
yeah, so
I'm just going to suggest, Christian, feel free to do whichever. Jump into your own, just to go and do your own work yourself, or if you think it's helpful to be part of a conversation and listen, I think that's great. I just want to take you to the considerations, which is at the bottom of that list, and just really to be considering like how open and inviting to other voices. So getting too locked into the details of something sometimes can shut that down. So just bearing that in mind. And then the other one is just we'll always be drawing attention to this is what is the minimum viable process that needs to be held, kind of the Goldilocks zone of what you need to be holding. So not getting too locked into being too broad or too much to hold. So I think we're ready to go. You'll get a 60-second warning when you're just about done. But anyone have questions before we go?
And Claire, are you going to create those rooms?
Yeah, I've made them. I'm going to open it. I just wanted to check and see.
All right.
All right. So, and Christian, do you want to let me know if there's a group that you'd like? Anyway, I'll open the thing. What would you like to do? I've got you. Oh, geez, you know what? I didn't assign you all to your groups. I'm so sorry. I just realized that.
And it looks like I need permission to the whiteboard as well.
Okay. Just a minute.
And Chabot, you're talking about from the link, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That will be problematic if that does not work.
Yeah, can anybody else get in? We couldn't get to it.
Oh, weird. Oh, I wonder if it's on presenter mode right now. Has someone
Uh, it, it was
No, it's
just
a
it was
permission
saying I needed
issue.
permission. Yeah.
Click it again. Did it do something?
Okay, I think everybody's in rooms right now, so I'm going to open them. Oh, let's just check that you can get the whiteboards open.
I don't see any whiteboards when I click on
Oh,
whiteboards.
actually, I think you might need to be in your breakout room to open it. So if you
I
have,
don't think that's true. No,
oh,
the link for the whiteboard is totally separate. So that's that link in the sideboard, and so it should take you to the whiteboard.
let me just
It
see.
says that we need to request permission to use
Yeah,
it.
there's
Yeah,
no
that's not
access
good.
still.
Okay, this is something. Give us just a minute. Yeah,
Takes me
only
to a Zoom
people.
sign in.
Yeah, you might have to do
Probably
that.
need
Okay, hold on. I've got it. So I'm going to share a new link. Hold on just a moment, and let's see if this works. Sorry
I
about
just
that.
got access to it. I requested. Now I'm in.
Yeah, me too.
Excellent.
Okay,
Good.
all right.
All
So
right.
Let me make
I will
sure I
send
can type.
everybody then off to your room. So everyone's got the link though, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see the
it's in the
whiteboard.
chat.
Okay, good. All right.
And whatever sub-communities within the area, within Skagit Valley, how many, a broad goal of connecting neighborhoods better, because that's a big issue. People are very suburban and so connecting zones so we don't have to always drive, 25, 30 miles or 10 miles to be with others, but to be much more relational in person as much as possible.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I think just capturing as much as you can, you're thinking about why you're focusing there. Like why is, because that's part of the storytelling. So April.
Yeah, we had a really interesting conversation. We too talked more than note took, especially because every time we click on the boxes, it was getting weird. But Asha has some really good creative ideas for connecting different people from the community, dealing with housing issues and different housing models, and how we can get around the permitting and farms that are already doing this type of work, that are housing people, which creates the farm stability, employment stability, um, housing it's like it just starts to really roll in all of those base needs so that we can get into a more creative way of thinking. And so we were just kind of covering that creatively and who we know and mapping out some of those people, and that was really exciting. Yeah, minimum viable process. Oh, that's what I wanted to touch on. So when the last person was speaking, one of the things that popped in my mind was not jumping too far ahead and thinking too big, because sometimes our nervous system is actually not ready for that. And then we'll do something that might sabotage it. So, really getting into those small details. And when that becomes clear, then the nervous system can settle into it. And then you can grow from there with strength and foundation. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. I love it. Um, I just want to make an observation. I would love to hear from others though. Yeah, how about what
Can
yeah.
I share, even though I'm the same group again, about the thing about the cultural sharing and the model development of it? Part of our fun is to tie in farms who have housing or processing facility needs, with an invitation also to raise funds, is to gather seasonally abundant harvests community source additional commercial kitchen spaces beyond my farm, and then have a chili or seasonal soup contest, with the goal being big batches as possible. And then we could do a contest and then freeze, dry, can, whatever the extra to sell to raise money for the housing and the processing facilities. And so that's kind of fun because contests are fun. And then any art, and we can have artists, kind of share their craft too, and the storytelling behind our food. So it does a lot of that cultural repair and celebration while raising money and awareness on the need to process local harvests, to reduce food waste, to increase housing, and how all these things come together. So that's just like, it's juicy.
My goodness.
Yeah, no, that's lots of creativity there. And also just the caveat as well on when you get to the bioregional mapping workshop, you're not going to want to feel like you've already arrived on certain areas. Like there's a real openness in what you're inviting people into. And like in terms of an agenda, the different groups, what are the different conversations, like really paying attention to what are the different conversations that the different groups are holding, not wanting to feel like there's already an agenda in place. I just wanted to name that because there's a difference in, I think doing that thinking is really, really strategic and fantastic, and not wanting to lock yourselves in, so that there is a sense that the conversation is open and yeah. April. Oh, your hand was.
Sorry, my hand is still up. I'm just going to put that down. Moving on.
Any other reflection?
Corey had her hand up for a moment.
I can, so for Whatcom, we talked about,
Can I have a 12-ounce Americano to go?
Hey, I'm going to
Oh.
mute you there. Sorry.
Yeah, so talking about like who our audience might be and who we're building from. And so we talked about building from the foundation of relationships we already have. We talked about the importance of talking about our roots, which especially with David and Brian, go way, way back. So how we might, think about the really, really deep roots and how important that is. We talked then about the problem we're addressing and building on what Brian said earlier around the, a guild, a place where people can join to find different kinds of support and ideas. We did talk about finding people who actually are doing things, not just like, oh, that's a cool idea and like that, but actually like have traction on the land. And we talked about the importance of bringing people together for synergizing. And then we were talking about, there's salmon and there's forest and there's food and there's this, that, and the other. And I think a key principle that came out of that was, and again from Brian, that it really is about the relationship of the salmon and the farming and the land trusts and the this, that, and the other. So I think that we'll try to figure out how to convey that. And that's part of how we're different. And it's that whole systems view.
Yep.
So that part's a little abstract right now, but we'll figure out how do you convey that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, wonderful, beautiful. Yeah.
It's easy to get down into the nuts and bolts, but we try to keep a big picture kind of view, and like how do we really convey the strengths of what we have to offer and really what we're trying to achieve and pull that together. And we were envisioning like putting this together as a tree where the roots are our foundation and the trunk is like the mindset and our understanding that we're all connected to the land, and then the branching is our relationships with the community and different projects going on all up into the leaves and the networks, and then having like the river is kind of like this gushing energy flow that has ripple effects and forking and stuff that continue on and are like future ambitions and stuff. So to put it together into a visual kind of expression with calling out what various things are might have more impact.
Beautiful. Love that. As a community artist, I love that too. Visual imagery. You know, in the interest of time, I think we're going to just we will be sharing the notes with you, the recording, the all of that. Would really encourage you to carry on developing some of these conversations that started here, and we'll be coming back to this. But wanted to end with a checkout and just what has been coming up for you, what your conversations might have generated, and just like a sentence or a word as a checkout, and maybe starting by oh, are you sharing someone? Is that the board being shared right now?
Oh, I tried to open it to add my notes to it before our meeting ends.
Yeah. So maybe if everyone could, if you can, just put your hands up. It just makes a big difference to pass on to the next person. And we'd love someone to jump in first and start the ball rolling. Thanks. Okay, Christian. And yeah, if everyone can put their virtual hands up, that would be great. All right, Christian. Oh, did he have to leave? Oh, he had to leave. That was what he was doing. Who wants to go first?
Okay, I'll go because I think it was to say
Pulse?
what's bubbling up for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, honing in like this big bright vision and everything's everywhere and trying to get it down to a sentence. That's what's coming up for me. Condensation. Condense it.
Great. Who are you going to pass it on to?
Let's see. I'll pass it to Shaylee.
Yeah, group member. I was kind of similar in that, and I think for us, and maybe it's the same for all groups, is this: what do we need to focus on today and this week, and not think of like every person we need to talk to, but like what's our job today to be able to be more effective. So yeah, pacing ourselves and focusing what's most important for each leg of our journey. Yes, honing. Yeah, exactly.
Who are you going to pass to?
Yeah, I will pass to Corey.
Yeah, similarly, like just having these discussions on concrete things, even when it's big and conceptual, but they're concrete, and working it together with Brian and David, it's just so grounding. So appreciate it. And I will pass it on to Cindy.
Here. Got to jump back in to jump back out. Yeah, I feel like it was good to be able to talk about the big picture and the small items today, and to focus in. And that's kind of what we were trying to do a little bit toward the end too. So, yeah. And I feel good about that. We'll move forward with some of these things. Shafet or Genevieve, you there?
I'm still not, I still feel confused on how to think through the thing. So like, I feel more lost every time we have a meeting in a way. So I wish that'd get better. Anyway, go ahead, Shafet.
Yeah, I'll double click on what people are saying about the honing in, like trying to find what are we here for, and keeping that very small and very manageable. And David.
The concentration diffusion pattern or polarity. Honing in on the concentration of what's mine to do and what's the part to do now, and holding the big picture of all of it and realizing where the connections lie between them. Brian.
Yeah, that's great, David. It's the yo-yo pattern. Like you go in and then you come back to the hand and you're like in contact. So it's both is really important. So I feel enlivened and I'm excited. We're having an in-person meal together next week, so we'll carry forth.
Wonderful.
Brandon.
Yeah, I'm just deeply appreciating and appreciative of everything that's been brought up and being talked about. I think it's just wonderful. And I love this. We are yeah, this like dance of holding a lot of complexity and stuff that can get very abstracted very quickly, and then but then actually the need and focus by landscapes to bring it down into their landscapes. I think that makes what we're doing so different than so many other groups out there, and it's so important that everything that we're doing is actually rooted and grounded in the work that people are doing in landscapes, and that it's growing up from that. And so, yeah, we kind of have one foot in and one foot out, and that's wonderful. So, Claire.
Yeah. Well, it's just a joy to see this coming alive and to see you all embracing and the questions and what's actually coming up because there's so much. I mean, we get to see the rich learning across multiple other landscapes as well. And it's really exciting because I think something really important is growing here. So I'm, yeah, very, very excited. And I want to just mention Genevieve, and anyone else, if you are feeling like you're getting stuck or are confused and want to have more conversation, maybe you just need to sit and sort of just take it in for now. But if you'd like to have a conversation, we've got office hours on Thursdays, but also anytime, just reach out because we'd love to kind of unstuck you if you're, help you get unstuck if you're stuck, and sometimes a conversation, and sometimes you just have to sit in the messiness of just listening until it does start to ping for you. So, well, with that, I know we're a few minutes after. I just we really try to end on time. So thank you so much for your time. And yeah, we'll try and figure out something. We'll test those whiteboards again. I don't know what was going on there. And if anyone has some ideas, please help
It
us.
might be the mobile. Was anybody else on mobile that was having a hard time?
I was on mobile and I texted my notes to Brandon in the Mighty Note Network chat because I couldn't text it in the Zoom chat.
Mm,
So I
and I
don't know if
made
there's any
notes.
way to swap it over,
Anybody
but
on a
that's
computer that was having success? Okay. I think
Oh,
it might be
the
the
mobile.
phone. That's good to know.
Okay. It is
Well,
good to know. So, you'll just need to make notes by hand and then, or in another form, and then get them onto the board. So,
That's what
yeah,
I
because we'd
did.
like
Hokey
you
pokey.
guys. Yeah.